right. Looks like the webinar has started. Um, Thank you everybody for joining. We are waiting on one more panelist. He's just having some trouble logging in, but he'll be here. That's the goal. For now, welcome to all of our other panelists. We'll give you a moment and a little bit to introduce yourselves. But as everyone's coming in, I just want to introduce myself. I'm going to be your host from Dotdigital today. My name is Susie Fitz, and thank you for coming to our Dot Live. Whether you're at home on the East Coast or the West Coast, thank you for joining. It's morning or afternoon. It's rainy and cold out here in New York, but I'm making it work. And this is one of our biggest dot lives we've ever had. We usually have one or two partners participate, but this week we've got a total of 5 people here, 5 panelists. And it's going to be really exciting as we present to you the sneak peek of our Ultimate Marketing Playbook that will be coming out in November. And all of you will get direct emails of the playbook when it is unveiled, so you won't have to go in and find it or download it. So thank you for joining. And we just got our final panelist, Jeremy. So he will introduce himself later as well. Before we get started, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Um, Agenda. We're doing it now. Welcome and intros. Then we're going to do a deep dive into the chapters, and there will be an opportunity for a Q&A at the end. But you are more than welcome to ask questions during each panelist's section of the playbook. If you have a question, then I'll give you like time to answer them. But if you forget your question or it comes to you later, throw it in the chat. We'll have time after. Also, something we do in our dot lives is if you ask the best question, you will get a gift card, like an Uber Eats gift card for $20 for lunch on us. I will send all the questions to the panelists at the end and we will vote. So you won't know until later, but just something to encourage questions. And another reminder, as always, is to please fill out the post-event survey. This just helps us know if we're doing a good job or a bad job, but most importantly, we take the information you give us and put it into future dot lives. Constructive criticism is always important, but you can also tell us if you loved it. And then finally, just to check in to make sure everybody's awake, we're going to do a little poll. What are you most excited about to learn in the US Ultimate Marketing Playbook? And let me pull it up. I will launch it now. Do you guys see it? Do the panelists see it?
Yeah, we do.
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, so these are all of the chapters of the playbook. You can pick multiple. I give you the opportunity to pick multiple. Don't be offended, panelists, if yours isn't picked. They just don't know what they're about to learn. It's all exciting. I've read every single article. Yeah, so let's get those votes in. They're coming in. There's a little bit of everything. I wish I could vote. I'll give you one more. I'll give you 10 more seconds. And 1, 2, 3, end poll. And I'll share the results with you guys. It looks like we were tied. There was a lot of, the number 1 was understanding the audience through generational marketing. I know that's important and really interesting to people. Still working on finishing that article up, but that's why it'll come out next month. Sweet. Well, let's dive into it. I'm gonna stop sharing the poll. Just checking if you guys can still see my screen. Panelists, can you see it? Perfect. Here we go for intros. Jeremy came in and then popped out, so we'll give him a minute. But for now, these are our panelists. And if everyone in the order that you see on screen, obviously excluding Jeremy right now, could just say your name, what company you work at, and your position, we'll give you some more time in your section to go over like what you wrote about. So let's start it off with Chris.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Good to be here. Chris Arundel, the Chief Privacy Officer at Inbox Monster.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Carrasco. I'm Managing Partner of Mandate.
Perfect.
Mike Brennan. I'm one of the co-founders at developersquad.com.
Nice.
Hi, everyone. I am Lauren Day, Director of Partnerships at EagleCart.
Hey everyone, I'm Brianna Martinez and I am the marketing strategist at Dotdigital.
Awesome. And I'm a marketing associate here at Dotdigital, and Jeremy Fenderson will be joining us from Ad Quadrant. He is the Senior Director of Strategy. And with that, let's get into it. We're going to back up there. Sorry, everybody. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can just see the panelists. And we were originally going to start with Jeremy, but we won't. Let me just tell you what the Ultimate Marketing Playbook is. It is an opportunity for us to bring you the latest insights in digital marketing to help your business stay ahead of the competition. We have contributions from our lovely panelists here, all leading experts from Dotdigital and our extensive network of agency and technology partners. And we developed this comprehensive guide for you to understand the top trends in the US. We had this book created in EMEA. It was more of a global trends. I wanted to create one that was more regional for the United States and see what people are interested in here and what's plaguing our marketers in the United States. So yeah, you're gonna find anything from compliance and regulations to the TikTok shop to mapping the customer journey to sustainability. We've got it all. And with that, let's start with, let me pull up my list of notes here. Inbox Monster, compliance and regulations. Hey, Chris.
Hey, looking forward to it.
If you could tell us a little bit about what you do, what Inbox Monster does, and what you wrote about, that would be great.
Sure. So as Chief Privacy Officer, I work with the teams on things like data security, compliance regulations, right? Making sure that client data is protected, but as well as making sure that our clients are compliant with lots of the international regulations as well as U.S. domestic laws, right? So I'm sure we'll talk about CCPA and GDPR and all those lovely, I call them four-letter words that we'll go through, right? The Inbox Monster is, essentially an email deliverability and marketing compliance platform, right? So we've got everything from seed testing, reputation monitoring, spam trap monitoring. We've also got email display. We've got lots of different areas of the product that are very successful, and our clients love it. And from Atlanta, Georgia, looking forward to being here and working through the compliance regulations piece.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. We also had Inbox Monster at our customer roadshow that we had this June, which was great to have you guys there, presenting on compliance, regulation, all of that good stuff. So let's
very
get into
important.
it. It is very important. It's also something I've learned a lot about since we get Dotdigital. So let's dive into it. Specifically, maybe we dive into CCPA versus GDPR.
Sure.
Yeah, one point you dive into in our playbook is to maybe follow GDPR over the CCPA guidelines. What are some differences between these two? What are they? And how do they impact the strategies that US marketers should adopt?
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of marketers get really confused, right? Because with GDPR, GDPR's focus, especially from an email marketing perspective, you've got things like the right to be forgotten, the right to be edited, the right to, data portability, but you also have that explicit opt-in, right? That's the key thing that a lot of marketers were really afraid of. When GDPR came out, when it was first sort of really sort of published and said, hey, this is going to happen, a lot of email marketers that I spoke to back in 2016 said, we're not going to send any more emails to Europe, right? And it's like, well, that's a bad approach, right? There goes a third of your revenue, right? Or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And so it's having that strategy and framework and understanding what GDPR is and how it affects you. And I think people get confused because they think, oh, California, CCPA, that means I have to have explicit opt-in as well, right? Which of course is not the case, right? So in the United States, CAN spam is still the law of the land as it relates to email marketing, right? Which we all know CAN spam really stands for you can spam people, which I don't recommend, but that's what oftentimes people say, right? So with CAN spam being the law of the land still for email marketing, CCPA really came out and said, listen, we want to protect the data of the people, of the residents of our state, right? California being the first one, which again says basically like you shouldn't sell or share information if somebody's opted out of that, right? You need to make sure that the data quality is there. You need to make sure that people have certain types of protection. Still, same thing, right to be forgotten, right to data portability, all that kind of stuff as well. But we've seen in the United States, other states also, approach similar laws like California. One sort of caveat, it's getting a little technical, but one thing to know about that is that California has what they call essentially private right of action, or PRA, means that an individual can sue directly, right? Whereas other states, you have to go through the state's attorney general. They don't have PRA. So that's kind of a little separate thing. Sometimes people get confused about that, but really the key difference here for email marketers to understand is that GDPR, explicit opt-in permission, right? There's all those loopholes around the 2-year existing business relationship, things like that. But again, think about it as explicit opt-in, where United States canned spam is still the law of the land. No state has anything that says you have to have explicit opt-in for sending emails.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. I didn't know much about CCPA. Starting at Dotdigital, they just told us right off the bat we follow GDPR. To be fair, we're a London-based company, but that makes sense. Um, okay, so that was like a good explanation, an understanding of all of it. Um, and it like might seem counterintuitive, but how might adhering to more stringent compliance guidelines like GDPR positively affect email deliverability and maybe your campaign performance?
Sure. Yeah, it's a good question, right? Because having that explicit opt-in really means that an individual recipient really wants to opt into email communication with you, right? They said that they're a hand raiser. These hand raisers are, again, not going to be malicious spam traps. They're not going to be people that are going to hit the spam button, right? Because hitting the spam button impacts deliverability. Clicking the unsubscribe link does not impact deliverability. Honestly, it's kind of weird because it's actually a positive piece on deliverability because you're actually clicking a link, you're taking action, and the ISPs look at that and saying, oh, they actually did something, they're real, right? But again, they're getting off your list. They're going to get off your list one way or the other. Having that explicit opt-in permission, at least that way your list is going to be smaller, right? People always talk about that, right? Well, if I have permission, my list is going to be small. Well,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but if you're sending to people that actually want your email, right? They're opening, they're clicking, they're engaging. It's going to increase deliverability, increase inbox placement, because again, if they hit the spam button, that's negative reputation. That's going to damage what you're doing, and ultimately could land your emails back in the junk folder.
Yeah, no, it just makes me think of our deliverability team here at Dotdigital too. They always say like use it as a tool, don't be afraid of it. It's very helpful. So I'm really excited
Great
for
team
people
over there. Known
yeah,
them for
they're
many
awesome.
years.
I've learned a lot. Okay, so something you mentioned in your article, in the playbook is Inbox Monster's tracking beacon, like an innovation that you say sets it apart from other compliance tools in the market. How does it do that? And what kind of improvements have clients seen in their email programs after implementing it?
The key here with the tracking beacon, right? And this technology is it's sort of like almost a play on DMARC, but you want to protect the data that you have, making sure that other people aren't using it, it's not being shared or sold or manipulated in any way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, this tracking beacon allows a real-time notification when certain flags are triggered. So they can be placed, these beacons can be placed into a database or a specific segment of your list. An alert's going to be sent if an unauthorized domain is sending to your data, right? That could represent, again, data theft. Worst case, and I hear this all the time, hey, I sent to my unsubscribe list and I had the best day in company history. Well, yeah, but now you're going to have violations and other complaints and things like that, right? But again, making sure that you're not sending to people that have unsubscribed, right? That's a sort of a common caveat. That's going to, again, wreak havoc on your mail program, and it could take weeks to identify. But these beacons will help you identify it more in real time, so that way you get the data, you have access, you understand what's happening, and you can shut it down. Shutting it down now will help, again, making sure emails are landing in the inbox and increase deliverability.
I just think of that emoji where it's a girl going like this, just like shut it down, and I think that's important.
Yep.
Okay, love it. And people can definitely read more about it in the playbook. But we've talked a lot about GDPR, shutting down the unsubscribes. Apart from those guidelines as the gold standard, do you have any other proactive steps that could be taken by businesses that are listening to ensure that they are compliant across privacy and data policies?
Yeah, I think the key thing, and I always tell people this, like, go read your company's privacy policy statement on the website, right? Are you adhering to that, right? Are you making sure that data is encrypted, it's safe, it's secured? Are you abiding by a data retention policy? Who has access to that data? It scares me so many times to think about clients we work with that, hey, they don't check to see if people that have left the business still have access to Salesforce or Marketo or all these systems, right? It's like you have to check and make sure during the offboarding phase, people are being removed from these systems, so therefore there's no more access. are you over collecting data, right? That's always a key thing, right? Because you look at your privacy policy, okay, we protect it, we do all that. Are you asking for too much? And are you, with the data that you're collecting, what are you doing with it? Why do you need job title and salary and all these things when you're not using it, right? And so you're storing data that could potentially all combined together could really be disastrous if that data were to be leaked, right? Again, making sure that again, the data is safe and secure is top notch, because that list that you're sending to, not only does it bring you revenue, not only does it bring you opens and clicks, but it could also be disastrous if it gets out of hand.
I actually really like the idea of, I've never thought about like overdoing it on data. You always hear like more data, better data, makes your list like more in depth, but sometimes it's just unnecessary. And I think that's really interesting. Um, okay, final question for you. Um, it's a very fractured landscape of privacy legislation in the United States, state by state. Um, what resources do you recommend our listeners use to stay up to date with all the changes that are happening, honestly, constantly?
Sure. I'm a member of the IAPP, or the International Association of Privacy Professionals, and they actually do a really good job on their website of showing the maps and the details about each state, where the laws are, the kind of the nuances and the differences between the two. I think that's a really handy site to look at and to pull those resources down and read through them. I also think that, when it comes to GDPR, CCPA, all the different state laws, the problem is the clients typically go to marketers, right? It's like, hey, marketer, what do you know about this? And it's like, have you talked to legal yet? Right? It's like, we're doing all these things. You want us to be experts in everything, and we can't. We are, but we don't need to be, right? So having that expertise beside you should help tremendously, right? Having somebody in compliance and legal to help you understand these things. But again, the IAPP is a great resource to do, always updated, and it's always evolving.
Okay, awesome. I'll add that in our follow-up email too if anyone needs the references. Sweet. Reminder that Q&A is open. Have not seen any questions come in. I know this is interesting stuff. Compliance and regulations. We love it all. I love it. I love learning
Not
about
TikTok, but it's
it.
it's necessary.
No, it is. I'm a marketer and I don't know all the laws. Luckily, we have a great legal team out here. I think that was a great point. Thank you, Chris. That was really awesome. Do you have anything else you want to add before we move on to Developer Squad?
No, I think if there's any questions, let me know, and happy to answer them now or after the event's over.
Sweet. We'll keep you updated as they come in. Thank you. And now we'll move on to Developer Squad with Mike Brennan. Mike, do you want to tell us a little bit about what Developer Squad does, what you do, and what you wrote about in the playbook?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Susie, and great information there, Chris. That was some really good key points there on those critical issues. And I'm with Developer Squad. You can think of us as your extension, a tactical team that you can put us in place to handle critical tasks. We primarily work with e-commerce and professional services. You can deploy our squad to set up integrations. We'll take care of the constant technical issues that can be faced by teams, everyday firefighting and interruptions that can interfere with your day to day. Even like the tedious tasks, like broken animations, give it to us. We love that kind of stuff. Then extend to slow performance, optimizing, attribution. Really kind of can really think of it as that, we'll come up with a little tactical squad to go and take care of all those tasks um for our clients in the e-com and professional services area.
Awesome. And then what do you do with Developer Squad and what did you write about in the playbook?
So as one of the co-founders, I'm involved with a lot of the strategy day to day. I work with a lot of clients on their issues and how we can develop long-term strategies for them. And we took a look at some of those experiences, and we wrote about something that might be overlooked by a lot of people, being transactional emails, meaning something as simple as a receipt be after a transaction. And we kind of did a dive into, maybe it's a good time to take a look at those transactional emails and why they're important and how you can even optimize them and do some housekeeping with them.
Awesome. I was really excited about yours. Transactional emails are not something I always think about. I feel like I send them out constantly though. So this is exciting and I think we'll open our minds a little bit. So let's chat about it. What are some common mistakes that businesses make when they're transactional with their transactional emails? And how can we address some of those issues to improve, customer satisfaction and brand perception?
So I think there's probably three common that come to mind here. One would probably overlap with Chris, is that a lot of companies and organizations, they don't separate their transactional emails from the marketing emails from the sending domain. And it's a really good idea to take those and separate marketing emails from transactional emails. So, put them in their own little silos so transactional emails can operate independently of anything you're sending with marketing. We've seen people come to us where that wasn't the case, and they were having, and they had a big mess with their marketing and their receipt, order confirmation, shipping confirmations were all going to spam. And you can imagine the nightmare that a simple, like, I bought this, where's my receipt, where's my and you're not getting it, or even the brand perception, why is that in my spam folder, is this legit? So dealing with that is a consideration there. And I think also in that aspect is really when transactional emails are you sending to customers, and is it appropriate to the trigger? Are you oversending? Is it like every time there's a a status change, it's like, oh, the warehouse received your order, let's send an email. You don't get too happy with oversending those, and really focus on the key critical ones that your customers expect, and then make sure that they are branded with your logo colors. They're not the system default from your e-commerce provider. We see a lot of that they go neglected. So you have all this great design and awesome copy and everything on your website. You get the sale, and then it has a generic looking receipt or shipping. It looks off brand, and that matters. So I think that those are some real that disconnect can have those brand consequences, and they're just technical things. And they're the great thing is that it's really easy to implement and clean those things up.
Yeah, I feel like I've gotten those spam, like a spam message as a transactional email. I'm like, where is my receipt? And then I think it's a really interesting point where you're like, oh, should I have bought something from this like company if it is in the spam? Makes you second guess if like your credit card information is gonna get out there or something crazy like that. So I think that goes hand in hand
Yeah.
with Chris's points about compliance regulations, all of that. Um, okay, so since we're talking about the ultimate marketing playbook, could you expand upon a strategy from the playbook that marketers can implement to transform their transactional emails from just like receipts to tools for engagement and brand loyalty?
So there's a bunch that you can do. It's prime real estate, right? High open rate, and you want to maintain the integrity of that. But I think it's a great opportunity for personalization.
Hmm.
Let's say you have a rewards program, loyalty points, or anything along those lines. Well, you can insert a personalization. Hey, you just received X points, or this much down to your you only have this much spend left to your next discount. It can extend the brand narratives that you're creating around your customer and your customer journeys in simple ways.
Hmm.
So that's one way to do it. Can also have a something as simple as like a click to reorder, and tie some attribution to that. We've In our history, we've seen people and just they hold on to an old receipt or old transactional email, and that's what they use to reorder. So are you tracking that when it comes to attribution, right? So that's another thing. And this is one that this is a tip we're just working on. We sent it out to our list a while ago, because with Black Friday, Cyber Monday coming up, this may kind of not really fall out from a transaction, but I think this is something that's useful. Is coming up for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, if you have your sunset segment flow where people are kind of on their way out, tease them with something for Black Friday. Get them back interested. Create a little FOMO. As soon as you're like, test some email subject lines like, hey, hate to see you go, but I just want to make sure before you leave, that we have this crazy amazing Cyber Monday sale. So create that FOMO, and maybe you can re-engage some of those sunsetters and get them back on your list, and that way, just something simple.
Yeah, no, I like the way you think about that too. It immediately reminded me of when I was trying to buy these, like, I don't know, leggings from Old Navy, and I went right back to my emails to find the exact pair. I wanted these same colors, same type, and I ordered the wrong one. And I just feel like being very specific in your transactional emails, or adding that order again, labeling it correctly. It's the little things that are really important. And I had to return them, and I couldn't find the pair I
Yeah.
wanted. So I like
We
that.
tend to hang
Okay.
on to them. We tend to hang on to receipts, hang out in inboxes, right?
Yeah.
So anything you can kind of do to enhance the flavor. How many rewards points did I get last time? Maybe I want to reorder this again. Just those little things that could create some lift for your campaigns and your
Yeah.
ongoing marketing.
Awesome. We're gonna skip past one of the questions that we had, just to make sure everyone has enough time. But I think a really important question is, are there any particular metrics or markers that you can track or analyze in order to evaluate the effectiveness of your transactional emails in terms of engagement or retention? I think that'll be really helpful for our listeners.
Yeah, I think obviously overall email deliverability, and that goes for everything. What Chris brought up, there's a lot of changes this year, as we all know, with Google and Yahoo, and the aftermath of people dealing with that. So I think first and foremost, the fundamentals, make sure your overall email deliverability with the the separate sending domain is going to be paramount. Look at the open rate, click-through rate, and also the aging reports. When you're saying, can you add some attribution? So if I bought something 3-4 months ago, but I'm going back to the email to one-click reorder, or what did I buy again? I liked it, or this wasn't the right one. I want to make sure I don't buy it again. Can you add some attribution there that could tie to conversions from those transactional emails?
Awesome. And then if you want to, do you have any quick success stories or case studies that could showcase like the transformation of using a really awesome transactional email? Also, hey Jeremy, thank you for joining. Zoom's tough out here.
Yeah, we've seen some real success with rewards programs, loyalty, and inserting something as simple as, not to take over it, but enhance a receipt email with these are your loyalty points. You just earned this. And just those constant reminders. We saw, I think, one lifetime value go up for rewards by up to like 50% over the course of 12 months in terms of participation, loyalty, and rewards. So adding those little accents can seem very small, but over time there's real incremental value when you're measured and keep balance to it as well too.
Yeah, I feel like the gamification of it too is like really important.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah.
Thank you. That was awesome. I noticed we got a Q&A.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna leave it for the end so we can make sure everyone gets through their sections, but your questions will be answered, I promise. Thank you, Mike. That was awesome. Love learning about putting action into your transactional emails. Okay, on to Jeremy. Thank you for joining. Jeremy, all I'm asking at first is if you could tell us what Ad Quadrant does, what you do, and what you wrote about in the playbook.
100%. Thank you, Zoom. uphill battle with that. I appreciate you. So my name is Jeremy Fenderson. I'm Senior Director of Strategy at Ad Quadrant. We really focus on helping D2C brands find those blue ocean opportunities and leveraging data, creative that really attracts people and convert, and then also thinking about the business operations side of things to allow you to scale profitably. That's our keyword underline. When we look at our submission to the playbook, we really covered how D2C brands can drive growth through TikTok shops using its unique features. We focused on key product categories like beauty, wellness, and anything that's really affordable and visually engaging to use the platform to drive sales. You'll find in there some tips around leveraging live shopping, trend-driven content, and creating an environment that maximizes impulse buys. And it's really a roadmap for brands to really capture TikTok's highly engaged audiences and turn those views into sales.
Love it. Okay, we'll dive into some TikTok shop now. Let's start off right off the bat. Do you have any recommendations on where someone should begin when embarking on a new marketing strategy or exploring something like TikTok shop?
100%. We really think about what good looks like, right? Like, what does it mean from a GMV standpoint? So how much revenue do you want to make when you're thinking about the platform? And think about it not just in 30 days or 90 days, but over a 12-month period, right? And then we also look at our favorite words, which are contribution margin, right? Like, how much money is going to be left in the bank outside of fixed costs that mean that you're making money, right? Like, that's the big thing for us, right? From there, we really go into the impact as well of like not only what TikTok shop means or any platform means, but you've already existed as a business, right? So what does that mean if you're on Amazon? What does that mean for your D2C Shopify, right? Like, what does that look like and what does good look like for you? And there's some tools I'll mention in a little while around like how you can see that from a competitor standpoint, but also looking internally, right? So if you've done $5 million in revenue, you're not going to do $100 million in the first 12 months on TikTok shop. There's an infrastructure, inventory, and capitalization you need to consider before setting those types of targets. So look back internally at what your business has done, look at what competitors are doing, and I'll give you some thoughts on how you can see that, and then set some 12-month targets so that you know where you're going. You don't want this to be a flash in the pan. You want this to be profitable. From there, you'd be looking at your audience as well. Who's on your platform in terms of the personas or avatars that have bought from you in the past, but also what type of content are they engaging with? What are they resonating towards? And understanding their behavior there, because it will be slightly different than what happens in retail or your D2C website because it's a different platform. I peek over the shoulders in terms of what competitors are doing, in terms of their content, products they're selling, and then really start to create an experimentation framework around testing into that platform. So crawl, walk, run, right? Don't blow it up on day one. Figure out how to make these strategic tests happen, find the signals on what's working, and then double down on that. That's how I'll be thinking about any new platform, but especially TikTok shop.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I feel like there's this ideology that you're gonna be on TikTok and it's gonna grow your revenue like super quickly. You gotta like think realistically because it's something new. You don't know how you're gonna do on it. I like that. Okay, so in the playbook, what vertical markets and product types does your part of the playbook identify as the best performers on TikTok shop?
100%. So you're going to see some recurring themes. So really, we're seeing beauty and fashion, right? Which is really, if you peel back the theme, it's something that's visually appealing, easy to explain. You can show some sort of result on the other side of that in a very short window of time, right? You got the, 2 seconds, if not less, to hook somebody, right? And then you have about 15 to 20 seconds to really bring them in to take action. So you need something that's very easy to understand. Health and wellness is another one, right? With a bit of educational and short demos to really draw the attention and kind of pique the interest of somebody who's trying to solve a problem or achieve a goal. Then you have food and snacks. Who doesn't love a good snack, right? So like you displaying snacks, but also pet products are coming out as well. Cat lovers, dog lovers, that type of thing. But really products that fit some of those categories, but are also maybe a sub $50 price point, right? We want to look for those impulse buys, something that couple clicks you add to cart, and you get that in a couple of days, right? Like things in those areas that are easy to explain, not a lot of cognitive dissonance when it comes to whether I should buy it or not. I can see a result, I can kind of future pace. Those are really the categories and products that are showing success initially, but it will expand.
Yeah, I feel like the world it's like unknown. It's gonna expand. It's getting crazier and crazier every day. Okay. Something I think that falls in line with that is like what metrics should be considered when you're evaluating the success of your brand on TikTok shop, like evaluating the success of your strategies.
100%. So we think about things in terms of like leading and lagging indicators. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but here we go. From a lagging indicator standpoint, we're looking at GMV, right? Like how much money do we want to make? But also the other lagging indicator is contribution margin. How much money is going to be left in the bank after I take out all of my variable costs? So I understand that this is profitable. No use making $20 million if we don't keep any of it, right? So that's the lagging indicator. But the leading indicators really align with the inputs necessary to make that happen. So we're looking at things like the number of samples we send out, right? Any of the major brands making noise out there, there's a high volume of the samples we send out, which backs into how many of those samples turn into videos, right? The volume of videos you have in play on TikTok Shop will have a direct correlation to how much GMV you have. So how many videos are out there? But also when we go into profitability, what's the average GMV per video you're sending out there, right? Whether it's affiliate or brand, I would look at that as well. And then your ROI on advertising, right? I want to dispel a myth that I love to break the internet here, but it might not be a 3-to-1, right? A 300 ROAS doesn't mean a whole lot without the context of cost, right? So maybe you need a 5X or a 2X, but really understanding what your ROI is in alignment with your costs, and then making sure that if it's a 3, a 4, a 5, a 2, that you're achieving that from an ad standpoint. And if we zoom out for a second, understanding the role that TikTok Shop plays in your overall D2C ecosystem, right? On one end, you might want to be majorly profitable because you're looking for a certain contribution margin for TikTok Shop. On the other end, you might be leveraging TikTok Shop as a loss leader to get low cost awareness for your brand that then backs out from an Amazon, Shopify perspective. So really understanding what role that plays from an ROI standpoint would also be something to consider. And then you can also look at things like how much GMV is coming from affiliates. It should be a high rate at present versus people going to your brand's shop or looking at your content. And then other things to look at as well, just operationally, is your shop performance score, right? You need to be above a 4.5, which means managing product satisfaction, fulfillment deadlines, looking at customer service. These are all things to look at. And I'm going to tell you about a tool in just a second, but you could also look at your competitors, right? You might have the wrong product, right? Because all the rest of your competitors are selling a product you didn't look at, or there might be a spike in volume from some key players out there. You're not operating in a silo, and because there's a lot of transparency around what's happening on TikTok Shop from a sales volume, creators, and so on, you can really see how you're trending against your competitors. So I would look at those leading and lagging indicators, but also look externally at my competitors to see how I'm tracking.
Yeah. What was that tool you were going to mention? I'm curious because we have to scooch through a few questions now just to keep time.
Yep, they're just generally known tools like Data and Fastballs, things of that nature. But also you can go directly on the TikTok Shop and like just search some keywords for similar products to what you sell. And you can literally see the products that have thousands of sales, right? And you can start from there. That's kind of be the real source of truth. I would start there, but there are definitely tools out there you can kind of search up to see. And it's definitely not a black box in terms of like who's doing numbers, what's happening. You can see it. And the best thing to do if you want to cut the learning curve is to stand on the shoulders of people who are already doing numbers on the platform.
Awesome. Well, I think we're gonna move on to the next person, but I think that was really interesting. And we'll add a couple more of your strategies that we didn't get to in our follow-up email so people can learn like some success stories and all of that. But that was perfect. You're really good at like putting a lot into one answer. So that was awesome. I learned a lot. Thank you, Jeremy. And if questions come up, we'll ask them at the end. But thank you for getting on. Zoom's tough, I know. Sweet. Okay, so that was Jeremy with Ad Quadrant. Now we're gonna move on to Lauren from EcoCart. Hi, Lauren. Could you tell us a little bit about what EcoCart does, what you do, and what you wrote about in the book?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Lauren from EcoCart, and at EcoCart, we have a full suite of post-purchase tools that act as an extension of your team from both a sustainability and customer experience standpoint. EcoCart was born because our co-founders, Dane Baker and Peter Twomey, were actually trying to calculate and offset the emissions of their previous business. And in attempting to do so, they realized how challenging, confusing, expensive, and time-consuming that it was. And they figured if it is this hard for us to do and we want to figure this out, then other businesses are definitely not going to get on this sustainability, pathway. And so they decided that they wanted to find a better way and create a solution, and EcoCart was created. So our main tool is a widget at checkout. This is actually powered by a proprietary algorithm, which calculates the unique carbon emissions of each online order in real time. And currently we work with over 3,000 brands across, all verticals in e-commerce. And it's our mission to make sustainability easy, accessible, and affordable for all merchants.
Love that.
And
I'm a
my main role is
sustainability
working
fiend.
across departments. What did you say?
I said I'm a sustainability fiend. I love
Love it.
learning about sustainability and like practices we can implement. Yeah, and sorry, you are partner manager?
Yeah, I forgot to answer that part. I just work across, so I manage partners, I find aligned partnerships and integrations, and work across departments on our team to provide a positive customer experience for our merchants.
Sweet. So we're gonna dive into a question. We're actually gonna start on the second question that I asked you. But are there any common challenges or misconceptions businesses face when implementing sustainable marketing strategies? I feel like that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is absolutely yes. This is probably the number one thing that our team talks to brands about when they're considering a sustainability path. The three things that I see the most are, well, first is overwhelm. We see often that brands get overwhelmed by the world of sustainability and all of the things that they could do, that they need to do. And they start to feel like if they're not doing it perfectly, then they shouldn't even try. But the reality is that there's no perfect within sustainability. It doesn't exist, and every action step is impactful and a step in the right direction. So yeah, it's important just to remember that any and all action, no matter how small, is great and has a rippled effect. So push away the overwhelm, get started today. And so that's the misconception that I definitely would love to put to rest first and foremost. The second one is concerns around cost. So that's another misconception that, going green or being sustainable is going to be costly to implement. And brands fear that going green means sacrificing their bottom line and kind of just like tearing apart the whole business. But the thing is that companies can really start small with gradual steps. I always recommend, starting out with eco-friendly packaging, which is often cost competitive to what they're currently using, or carbon neutral shipping, which is actually free for merchants through the EcoCart tool. And things like that, they can be affordable and highly impactful. So those are my first two. And then the third that I see a lot is concerns around greenwashing. Brands have seen customers of other businesses be quick to call out brands that they perceive as maybe insincere in their sustainability efforts, and they kind of almost shy away from it completely. But to address this, I always just recommend focus on, authenticity, transparency, and honesty, both in your current achievements and where you're seeking to improve and where you need to improve, and maybe why you haven't gotten to that place yet. So, for example, detailing specific sustainability goals, switching to 100% recyclable packaging, like I said, within a set timeline, setting a goal of being carbon neutral or having carbon neutral shipping by a specific date. Sharing what you plan to do and by when really shows a genuine commitment, builds that credibility. And by being upfront about your journey, brands foster that trust, that authenticity. They get that feedback from their customers who might have like suggestions or ideas or encourage them on, and really strengthens that customer peace of mind and that long-term loyalty.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes for anything. My college that I went to when I was applying, they said they were going to be carbon neutral by the year of my graduation, and that was something that they kept, promising and promising and promising, and showing the steps. Like higher ed can do it too. Like anyone can do it.
So cool.
They didn't by the time I graduated. To be fair, we had a whole pandemic, and they were honest about it, and they like rephrased their plan.
Yeah.
And I think just like keeping people in the loop is really important. So that's great. So something I want to ask are, I mean, you gave some beginner-friendly steps. Do you have any others businesses can utilize to start including sustainability in their marketing strategies? Like you already started talking about being transparent. Like what else could people do? And you did want me to share my screen during this part, so I will show off this little
Yeah,
bit
this is
here.
just we can touch on that. So this is just an example of what EcoCart looks like in the wild at checkout. These are two different examples of the way that, brands can change the coloring, the font, the overall experience to just feel like a seamless part of their site. The beginner-friendly steps are similar to what I just touched on, and to like highlight and re-dive into those. first, set goals and share them. I would say like choose a North Star within your industry and really start to, peel back and look at what are they doing that inspires you, that you feel like you could emulate within the next quarter or with even in the next year. And, always lead with honesty and transparency. So, you don't have to go straight to net zero, just start small and make a plan. And I would say the next thing is, creating like a dedicated page on your website to outline your current initiatives and your future goals. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. Just acknowledging it is huge. Customers love to see that, brands are outlining it the same way that your university shared that. It is proven that, employees want to work at businesses that are more sustainable, that students want to go to universities that are, making these commitments. So that's huge. And then the other, big takeaways I would say is offsetting at checkout. It's a great place to just get started in making your orders carbon neutral. You can either do shipping or the entire order. We, as mentioned and as shown here, have a suite of tools for brands to choose what's best for them. So whether you want to have this featured on your homepage, on a banner, or just at checkout, totally up to you.
Mhm.
And then eco-friendly packaging and shipping. So there's actually a ton of eco-friendly 3PLs out there. There's a lot of eco-friendly packaging companies. I'm happy to provide specific recommendations if anyone has questions. Manifest Commerce is great. Arca, Eco Enclosed, there's quite a few options. Happy to share more if anyone wants to reach out via email. So
Sweet.
yeah, set goals and share them. Offer an offset option at checkout. Create a sustainability page, and then look into eco-friendly shipping and packaging.
Sweet. We're gonna move on to the last question just because we're running out of time. But how can businesses keep up to date with like evolving consumer expectations regarding sustainability, adapting their marketing strategies to remain like relevant but also responsible?
Yeah. So my biggest point to drive home is remember that this is ongoing. So to stay aligned with evolving customer expectations in this space, businesses need to think of sustainability as an ongoing dialogue instead of, just like a one-time fix or one-time initiative. And this is like anything worthwhile in life, right? A healthy relationship, a workout program, any skill that you really want to get good at. It's not going to just be a single set it and forget it approach. It's something that requires showing up, listening, learning, and evolving. So listen to your customers' requests and get their feedback. Whether you want to do this through reviews or surveys, you probably see this coming through in social media, especially as you start to roll out sustainability initiatives. You're going to see those positive customer, comments and like emails coming in saying, I noticed your packaging changed. I love it. Or I saw your commitment. This is so exciting. They might even have some ideas and you can implement those too. And then also you can run A/B tests to see what tools or messaging is working best. At EagleCart, we actually help brands run tests, to see what messaging, what tool, what placement, et cetera, is working best for the brand. And then, like I said earlier, choose a North Star brand. So, brands like Cotopaxi, Girlfriend Collective, Nation Ltd. Those are actually all brands that work with EagleCart, and they are really leaders in the apparel space of, setting high commitments and, evaluating their supply chain transparency, environmental impact reporting. You can look at their pages and see the way that they're communicating and taking action and just start to see what you can emulate. And then the last thing, if brands are interested, I would say is to look into certifications. This is obviously optional and like something you can do down the line, but B Corp, certified, carbon neutral, these could be like things that you set out, in a 5 to 10 year time frame. That is a win that you want to have. Where, at this point in time, governmental policies and consumer trends are both really shifting, particularly in the EU, soon to be in the US. And it's exciting to see that sustainable operations are becoming not just an afterthought, but an actual business requirement to keep the planet healthy. So the more you can get ahead of this, the more you can be, ahead of the curve, the more you're going to be in a better position for whatever comes out next.
That's awesome. Once again, sustainability fiend over here. So I do love learning a lot from EcoCart. You guys have participated in Dot Labs before, so thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Sweet. Also to everybody, all the panelists. You guys are welcome to also answer the questions in the chat if you see them. I didn't know you could, so feel free to also answer as we continue on. Now we've got Karen from Mandate on customer journey optimization. Please share what you do, what Mandate's all about, and what you wrote about in the playbook.
Yes, so super excited to be here, Susie. So I'm the managing partner of Mandate. We are an email marketing marketplace providing professional services on demand on everything that you might need from email marketing, from day-to-day execution to channel strategy to customer life cycle mapping and marketing automation.
Sweet. Love it.
And second part, you ask
Oh,
what
yeah.
I wrote in the playbook. So I try to put my brain in words and give a step-to-step guide to create meaningful customer journeys and how to do it. I think this word has been here around, like it might be daunting, you don't know where to start, how to make it happen, and the right way to do it. So I try to provide like a step-by-step guide in mapping the journeys. What are the things to be mindful? What are the things to keep a close eye? What are the benefits of doing it? And a few tips and tricks to make it shareable with your organization, to make it a living thing. So the one thing about customer journeys is that it's never set in stone. Actually, it should be a living document. So if you do it the right way at the beginning, it should be evolving in time in an easy way.
Perfect. I feel like this like sums up a lot of what we talked about today, the customer journey, and the customer like mapping of it all is going to be really important to implement everything we've talked about. So let's start with it. What are some crucial steps to follow when creating a comprehensive journey map, customer journey map, to ensure like a better understanding of your customer base?
Yeah, sometimes people want to start to think like, what is your ideal customer journey? Like, what do you want them to experience from your brand? And the first step is actually to map what you have today. So what are they actually experiencing today with all the different channels that they interact to? It takes a little bit of CSI work. Sometimes I actually recommend our clients to actually make the purchase, see if they receive the transactional email on their spam, see if they're actually getting stuff. So sometimes they think things are running or working, but when they actually do the exercise, they find out, oh my gosh, my sender is the wrong sender. I'm landing on spam. Oh, this email is not being sent for I don't know how many years. So the first step is to map this current journey. The second is once you have that clear on what's happening today, honestly think about a good online tool that allows you to document all of this in a way that it's easy to maintain. So tools like Figma, it's perfect to do this, and have a really like organized legend on everything that's going on. Separate with colors like the different touch points, the decision points, the delays between every communication. Even like sometimes people have different senders. Sometimes senders are like marketing at brand.com, and other senders are actual real people from customer service. So be as detailed as you can so that you can start seeing what are the gaps and your blind spots in terms of the journey. The third step is as you go through this exercise, add all the rules and specific variables that come in place to each communication, because those will be the entry points of your marketing automation in the tools that you're going to be using. So if there's conditions, if purchase is over $100, then this is happening, type that. Like, what are all those variables? First, is going to help you implement that in your marketing tool. And second, if you happen not to have certain variables, you can actually start mapping what is the desired data architecture that you need to have to make that happen. Then when you have all of that, start dreaming, like start thinking about like, what is the Disneyland state of my customer journey? Yes, I want them to send an SMS after this happened. And then there's a personalization, like if I'm in US, if I'm in EU, if it's GDPR, I do this. If it like, you really get creative on the different versions. And that's where it's honestly, it's an infinite work. Like you can add as many communications as you want. You can then slice that pie in pieces and start implementing your critical journeys on the things that you want to achieve. I always recommend as a last step or one of the last steps to share with your organization, because first, as a marketer, you might have some blind spots because you're here kind of like seeing the brand all the time, seeing the messaging. So I actually recommend to share with like non at all sales or marketing related folks, like share with legal, with accounting, kind of like, hey, this is a customer journey. What do you think about it? And a desired state. And sometimes the accountant will say, hey, you're not actually sending anything for welcome. Like after they sign up to your brand, they're not receiving this or that. So internal employees can really help you kind of like figure out your blind spots. And after you have all your mapping, it's when optimization comes in. So once you have these running in your marketing tool, take a look at it maybe once a quarter, maybe every 2 months, and start seeing where to optimize in terms of the KPIs that you're tracking.
Okay, awesome. Also, I just want to preface to anyone that panelists and or organizer or participants, if you need to leave, that's okay. We're gonna go a little bit over. I want all of these questions to be asked. But I loved that. I like that you mentioned like sharing with like the legal team. Every perspective is important. Because like you have those blind spots when you're staring at something all day. So what are some other common challenges associated with like data management or integrations when mapping your customer journey?
Yeah, sometimes the biggest challenges come on your desired journeys when you start getting creative and you want to leverage or monetize your database in a way, and then you realize that you actually don't have that data point in your system. So that is not, it's not a biggie. It's always solvable, but then that's where you're gonna have to maybe roll back a little and say, hey, if I want to make a journey depending on LTV, people that spend more than this will receive that, people that spend less, you need to have that data point in your platform. So you might have to go back to your data architecture and be, okay, where is LTV calculated? Is it in the platform? It's on a different system. How can I bring that? Can I bring it in real time? No, we cannot bring it in real time. Okay, can it be at least every hour, every week? So you start kind of like solving those things. So that will be my number one kind of like, it's not a big challenge, but it's something that always happens. It just sets you a little bit back to kind of like redesign what are the available data points that you have and the ones that you need to ask probably IT or someone in your team.
Yeah, it's like little things.
Yeah.
Something I think people will want to hear is can you provide like some real world examples of a business that's successfully implemented like some really great customer journey mapping and has like improved their marketing efforts through that?
Yeah, for sure. I work here in Montreal for a company called Luxury Retreats. They got acquired by Airbnb around 2017. So what you guys see right now on Airbnb as Airbnb Lux, it used to be Luxury Retreats here in Montreal. And these are villas that rent for like $50,000 per night. So it's like celebrities rented. So I was in charge of the lifecycle marketing at the company, and when you sell villas or you rent villas for $50,000, your marketing communication is a little bit different. Sometimes you are not necessarily targeting your end customer, but the support team around this high net worth person. So we implemented a very good strategy to drive repeat business, because with marketplaces and businesses like Airbnb and Airbnb Lux, if you're happy with your first stay and you had an amazing time in Turks and Caicos and your concierge was great, why are you shopping around for the second time? Like, you shouldn't be shopping around. You should be making your second, third booking with the same platform. So we set up a whole RFM modeling, so based on recency, frequency, and monetary, to have completely different journeys depending on how much money you spend, how frequently you were doing it. Are you a first-time guest or a multiple-time guest? And this was like super ramification of the ramification. We had, I believe, 58 campaigns running at any given time. It took us about 6 months to do that. And the repeat business that this machine was driving for this very niche market was very good, to the point that the human intervention of trying to make someone book again, at that point there were concierge and villa specialists handling the repeat bookings. The machine was handling that. and prompting at the right time to say, hey, Karen, so you just went to Italy last summer. Do you want to try the Swiss Alps? And because we were analyzing that, okay, if you went to Italy, maybe you're in Europe, you want to go there, East Coast, all of that in the marketing platform was driving repeat business like very, very well.
That's awesome. You got me thinking about when I was in Montreal last month, and I was like, oh, did I stay at one of those Airbnb? No, I did not stay there. All good. Stayed at a regular Airbnb, but that's really interesting. And a really great real world example of like putting that into action. Um, and now that it's 3 o'clock, I do want to speed on to just like our SMS section because I know some people are interested in that. Um, thank you so much, Karen. That was awesome. Bree is our Dotdigital marketing strategist. You've seen her in a lot of our Dot Lives, but Bree, tell us about our section of the Ultimate Marketing Playbook and what you do here.
Yeah, thanks, Susie. And thank you, everyone, for your contributions today. It's been really insightful, and I'm honored to be on this panel with you all. So yeah, I am Dotdigital's marketing strategist. I partner with our Dotdigital customers to assist them with their strategy and how they can really unlock their customer journey and improve upon what they're already doing in the platform. So that can be in a number of different ways, from consultancy to project-based services. But really, I'm a marketer at heart, just like all of my clients. So I really enjoy helping my customers to achieve their goals through creative strategies and marketing innovation. And I'm really excited to talk about SMS marketing and why it's essential in today's communication landscape. Um, so that is what I wrote about. But I think it's interesting to note almost 80% of Americans owning a smartphone are constantly checking it. And really, SMS is an intuitive and accessible channel for consumers. So if you don't include SMS in your current omni-channel plans, you really risk losing out on valuable revenue and getting left behind in this rapidly evolving market.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing, especially in like the Dotdigital world of the customer journey and experience. So I'm gonna ask just a couple questions because we don't have a lot of time and we've
Yeah.
got plenty of info on SMS on our website. But are there any specific industries or sectors where SMS is particularly effective? And do you have any examples?
Yeah, for sure. Two sectors that come to mind, first and foremost, are specifically e-commerce sectors. So, the holidays are coming up, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. SMS really assists in breaking through the noise and getting that one-to-one connection between a business and their customers. So, being able to communicate those limited time sales, a lot of brands are doing flash sales during this time, things like that, is going to be really successful with the SMS channel. Also, events or appointment-based businesses are also going to be really keen to using this channel as well, because they're going to be able to really enhance their attendance rate or their appointment acceptance rate by sending those appointment or event reminders and access to those appointments, whether it's a link to a Zoom call, or, if it's an event. I'm thinking of, in my hometown of Chicago, we have Lollapalooza here. So really communicating that really important information for those event-based businesses like Lollapalooza. So if there's things like rain delays, that's going to be really important to send out to their concert goers, as well as any lineup changes, or just communicating lineups in general is going to be really helpful.
Sweet. No, we did that during our customer road shows and we had a whole venue change. So that
Yeah.
was great when we could send out SMS. Okay, so one thing that I think is really challenging with SMS is like you have fewer amounts of characters than you do email. Obviously, you could go write a novel for an email, but how can businesses effectively balance those fewer characters with the need for personalization in order to craft like some compelling and eye-catching messages?
Yeah, for sure. I think the easiest way to go about this is to utilize MMS. So what MMS is it's just that little image that's included in the SMS campaign that you're sending out. It might cost a little bit more to send this campaign with an image than it would without an image, but it really pays off because you're able to utilize that space to communicate additional information that's going to be really important in pushing the needle specifically for those e-commerce based businesses, really especially around the holidays as well. I'm really thinking of communicating sale deadlines and things like that. There's Black Friday sales, there's Cyber Monday sales, and a lot of tiered type of discounts based on the timing of the day. So you're not going to have a lot of space in just 160 characters to communicate all of that important information. So utilizing MMS and including an image with all the further details really helps you to be cognizant of that 160 character count while also adding a little bit of personalization in there and communicating the details that you need to do.
Yeah, I'm getting so many messages already, like via MMS, but I'm more likely to read them than my emails, and I can attest to that.
Yep.
Okay, sweet. And then we'll just end with something I think people would want to hear, which is, do you have any real world examples you'd like to, expand upon, maybe from the book or from, places you've worked with or people you've worked with?
Yeah, I think I have a lot of experience in the jewelry industry, and a lot of times, I mean, not just jewelry, but really fashion or any type of consumer products are really good with doing flash sales. So flash sales, sending those flash sales through SMS is going to be really, really helpful in breaking through the noise and getting directly to your customer in a time that's most needed. And not only is it going to be helpful for you and in driving those conversions and engagement, but your customers are going to appreciate that too. There's nothing worse than going into your inbox, after you sit down after dinner and you're just relaxing at night and you find out that you missed a sale that you wanted to participate in. So communicating that through SMS can help to pique the interest of your customer even more and in a more timely manner.
Yeah, I also think I'm more likely to buy something sitting down at dinner. I'll be with like my partner, my roommate, and I'll be like, "Should I buy this?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, you should
Yeah.
buy it." So I think that's great. Thank you so much, Bree, for sharing that information. There's so much more in our US Ultimate Marketing Playbook. I know we're well over time, and like Chris, you talked a whole hour ago, so thank you for waiting through it. I saw you guys answered a lot of the questions in the Q&A. So I'm sure everyone take a peek if you're still on at what was asked about. There was questions about TikTok Shop, a question for Chris about employees and privacy policies. A great question for Lauren about sustainability. The only question I see that's still open is for Jeremy, and I feel like I should know the answer, but I don't. Is TikTok Shop available in Canada and the EU?
So I have to check on the latest with that. I know that there's already some activity there. And I want to address both points too. Like TikTok has a academy that you can search up real quick. So there was a question around products that you can sell on TikTok. I would go there for that. And then I would also go there for the availability for both because things are changing rapidly. I know there's already some activity there, but I would go for the latest and also look for any incentives and things in terms of engaging that market. Because when they do open up in certain markets, there'll be certain considerations for category and type of product, right? So definitely take a look there.
Awesome. Is there anything else anyone wanted to add it based on the Q&A? I know we're over time, but feel free. This is your moment. Nope. Guys, this was really awesome. Our Ultimate Marketing Playbook is coming out in November, so you guys will get direct emails, all of our participants, with the playbook. We had amazing panelists. Thank you all. I learned a lot, so this is great for me as well. And have a really great day. Thank you all. And fill out your follow-up survey. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye-bye.